Hey, welcome back to Soul Sexy Radio, and super excited to have special guest this week, Zen Cryar DeBrucke. And of course, here's Kylie with us as well. Yay. How's your week been, Kylie?
Me?
Mine?
Both of
Oh,
you, either, whoever wants to go first.
yeah, I'd love to. Go ahead, Kylie. You go first, though.
It's been wonderful. And the highlight of today was going to the chiropractor, which is like a gift, a
Yeah.
godsend.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and the podcast, of course. I'm looking forward to having this chat with Zen.
Oh,
Awesome. I know I love your name too. And I'm curious, like, did you change your name or has it always been your name?
I changed my name. I got the name. It was given to me when I was about 23, and I legally changed it. And then I changed my last name later because I wasn't going to get married. I really liked being single and not having kids and going and doing everything fun. Before I wrote my first book, I changed my last name too,
Okay.
so that it felt really great for me. So, and then Cryar. So DeBrucke is the name. I changed my name to Zen DeBrucke. And then Cryar is my husband who ambush hunted me until he caught me. And I put him in there as my middle name out of respect, but I wasn't planning on changing my name.
Oh my God, I love this story. It's really, really beautiful. And I love your name because it's like, whenever I heard it, I'm like, I actually feel zen with it. Like, I actually feel like, I'm calm. Like, and I
Thank
need
you.
that sense. And for everyone out there, if you're watching us, little Lucian is on my lap. And if you can hear him, you won't hear him yet, I don't think, but that's what's going on if you hear little weird sounds. His little Lucian right here. But yeah, I'm super excited to talk to you. Yeah, I mean, there's so many things that I want to dive into. And one of the things we were chatting before we started was talking about, being in alignment with like who you are and what's showing up for you today. Like if like being that I'm a mom right now and my life is all changed, like how to, I guess, adjust to those differences and like still own who you are. And I think that it's challenging and exciting because like, it's true. It's like, you think you know yourself and then you have a child and everything just changes,
Yeah.
it's like a whole new you.
And it happens over and over throughout your life.
Yeah.
I work with people who are retiring and they're freaking out because they're like, what am I going to do with my life? My life has been these people and this work. And I'm like, so I coach people through that because it's very stressful.
Yes. Yes, very much so. I guess like, and I'm curious too, you mentioned you had two kids as well. What was it like for you? And, when you had your two kids, like we all have different adjustments and ups and downs in our life, whether it's marriage, meeting a new person who rocks our world, and like, or having a child or, career changes or whatnot. I'm curious too, like with you and your journey, you mentioned changing your name at 22. Was that when you first started, like your journey switched and what kind of got you on this path of what you're doing now?
Oh, great question. So when I had a pretty rough childhood, very abusive, verbally and physically, mom, and out of it, dad, and there was a whole. I jokingly call it my Jerry Springer years because there's all these things that happened. My dad divorced my mom and married her best friend from church, and on the day they got divorced, and it just kept going. My brother was hit by a car and put in a wheelchair. Doesn't sound like a lot, but the way the family handled it,
Yeah.
was a lot. It was like not well done, and so I came out the gate. I sued my parents for emancipation because I felt like if I didn't get away from their drama, I wasn't going to be able to even figure out who I was
Wow.
because I just like being in a tidal wave all the time. So I came out the gate really angry and resentful for not having the support I needed and not having them see me, and really wanted to make it in the world, but had no background to do that well. And I started blowing it. I started sabotaging. I'd get in a fight with my roommate and be like, I'm leaving. And she's like, fine. And then she's like, no, you're leaving, and quitting jobs and living out of my car and, expecting people to like, I quit and they're going to chase me down the street and like, don't go. We need you. Nobody who has a dishwasher does that. I was a dishwasher, nobody's going to do that. So my friends, who I had some really good friends, one of them got into Abraham Hicks. I don't know how she got this Texas tape, right? But it was a cassette tape. It was back in 1992 or 93, I think. And I listened to it, and she wanted to let me know I was self-sabotaging. I was creating my own reality, that the law of attraction is real, that I don't have to live this way, that I can make new choices. But there was this little tiny 5-minute clip, because back then they used to just answer questions. They get people in their living room and answer questions, right? And back then, here comes my kids, so we'll see how it goes. Anyway, there's about 12 kids running around the neighborhood for the summer right now and having a blast. So I put notes everywhere that said quiet, but we'll see how it goes. All right, so there's a 5-minute little excerpt about the internal guidance system. And I must have rewound that 80 times. You know how, have you ever gotten a piece of information and you know it's really important, but there's like a thickness in your head and you're like, I don't know, what does this mean? What is it? You know, that feeling where you know it's there, but you can't grok it, you can't get to it. So that was happening for me. And it was said that when our thoughts are moving us towards our success, our life's blueprint, our purpose, we feel a relaxed, centered, or even an expanded feeling in our body. And when our thoughts and our thinking are moving us into a place of sabotage, where things aren't going to go well, where we're going to cause problems for our lives, the whole center of the body tightens up. And the only thing that I could knew is that every time I'd blown it, that tightness was there, and it stayed there for a while afterwards, that horrible feeling. And so I started decoding it back then. And I went from a high school dropout who sued their parents for emancipation, to getting my high school diploma, to going to community college, to going to UC Davis and getting a degree in foreign policy.
Oh my gosh.
Moving into tech in downtown San Francisco in 1996 and becoming one of the first CEO design firms at the height of the .com era in downtown San Francisco. Our office was a block and a half from the Transamerica building.
Wow.
And yeah, and so what I did is I learned how to follow the expanded thought. The next expanded thought. These are not our emotions. One of the things that happened, you guys you both shook your head. So I think you're like Abraham Hicks people too.
Totally, completely.
Okay,
We're all about that.
This is so cool because I don't get to talk about this a lot. This is a newer conversation. Okay. But over the years, this was super hard to decode because our minds are crazy. They're locked in. Their software. It's very hard to think outside of our box, right? Mm-hmm. And so I was constantly like, but I know it's true, but my body's telling me it's not. My IGS is telling me it's not, but I know this. I know my dad doesn't like me. I see it every time we get together, close, tight. So it's not true, but I couldn't see anything else. Mm-hmm. And I think what happened is when they introduced the internal guidance system, the Abraham Soul family, they see it from a perspective without ego, without the mind. And so for them, they're just like, no, just follow the opening thoughts and your life will be good and the whole world will be better and everybody will be at peace and we'll have paradise. And everything will just come to you. But the problem is we get out there and then we open up our bank account. It's got 28 cents in it and we've got a bill landing that day. And it doesn't feel so magical. It doesn't feel like we could just follow you, because our ego takes over, the fear, the shame, all of it. And so I believe what they did is they went and they created the emotional scale. It's not that our emotions are a guidance system. They're not. They get programmed between the ages of 0-7, just like our thinking. However, they were saying if you reach for a better feeling thought, go from resentment to anxiety, go from anxiety to hope, go from hope. I don't know the scale. I'm just saying hope to love. If you keep reaching for that thought that represents that energy, you will find your opening. What's happened is a lot of people have actually said, no, our emotions. And as long as I have an emotion that feels good, it's right. Well, you can go to a particular high level personal development conference and spend $50,000 on courses because they know how to hype you up. Mm-hmm. They know how to high five you, make you feel like you could do everything. You buy the 50,000 in courses, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't have, but then you hit that ego, which opens up that bill with 28 cents in it the next day, right? Mm-hmm. So, or, bank account. So this became my mission. And what happened is during the .com crash, everything got destroyed. It was so fast, so brutal. Within a week, people were losing their jobs. It was so fast. And I kept looking at that flow. Like I was stressed out for 3 or 4 days because I also had 45 employees and a $90,000 commercial space and $122,000 a month in payroll, right? So you watch everything rolling and these people you love, they help you build this. I woke up in the middle of the night, stressed out about it. Stress is always closing, that tightness. And I was sitting there thinking, and I was like, what if I'm just earning my experiential MBA? What if I am getting so much experience right now that my expertise will be invaluable in my future. And I should take this on as an extraordinary experience that I can learn from. I opened, my whole body went. So then I hit it like an adventure. I went in, I was like, okay, guys, we owe these people money. We've got 200 chairs because we were expanding. Let's see if they'll take our chairs, you know? And the secretary would be like, yes, we need chairs, you know? And we just kept moving through it and we got out of it. And my friend said, my other tech friends, either tell us the doctor that's giving you your drugs or tell us what you're doing because you think this is fun. And I'm about to kill myself. I don't know how to do this. So I started teaching people the internal guidance system in their living room. And here I am today, 23 years later.
Oh my gosh.
Started the company in 2006, the Smart Soul Academy. And
okay. This is so, I love it. And again, I tell Kylie this every week. Every time we have a guest on, it's perfectly aligned and divine for whatever I'm going through in my life. And so here we are again, how beautiful this is and so perfect. And yeah, it's funny. And I do remember that Abraham Hicks, I remember that. I forget which one it was. And now I want to go back and listen to it. And I remember that when she was saying, if you're feeling this emotion, move to this emotion. And if you're moving to this. So like, I want to go back to that because as you were saying it, I'm like, oh, and I literally pictured her, felt calm for that moment. Like, that's right. And I need reminding myself to go back to that because me, myself, and my business, there's like my other business, there's so much going on that I'm like, what is.
I love their work, but I really think we should work with you on my work.
Okay.
Because you can go do that, but it's not going to change. So what this does, the internal guidance system changes the neural pathway of the brain that's causing you the stress. So you stop stressing because those thoughts don't exist. So for instance, my mom used to be afraid everybody was talking behind her back. And you'd hear her telling that. She'd be telling her sister, and you hear that with your child. We get programmed between 0 and 7. And then I took it on and I thought everybody was talking behind my back at work, at here. I mean, when I was a CEO, I was finally able to handle it because I thought all my employees were talking behind my back and I would be closed. I'd feel tight, which means that thought's not true. They're not talking behind my back. And then I would open. Well, as soon as you open, that new path comes. It never crosses my mind anymore. In fact, I had a very contentious student a couple of years ago and we were doing a retreat in a big house. And the day before we'd had some issues and I walked through the kitchen and they were kind of being quiet because they were having coffee and everybody was still sleeping. I walked through the kitchen, I walked into the course room to get it set up, started setting things up. And I was like, it's so nice of them to be talking quietly while everybody else is sleeping. And then I was like, oh, I didn't even think they were talking about me. It didn't even cross my mind. We're two people whispering in the kitchen and they look at you and they're like, and then you,
yeah.
So being a mom, like we were talking about before the show, we have all these little these programs about who we have to be or what we have to do, or we did this and we shouldn't. Like food is a big one for us moms.
Oh yeah.
Right. And you're like, oh my gosh, it's the third night with pizza and I'm so busy. And you get closed and tight, guilty. But that's closing. That means it's not true. Your kids are fine with the pizza. I mean, God, think about when I'm 51 and what I was raised with. When I was a kid, Lucky Charms and Captain Crunch for breakfast every day, and those little cheese packets where you dip out that orange cheese and put it on the cracker. That can't be good for you. I'm okay.
And I do feel guilty about that because there's so many, especially in the toddler years right now, where he's like, all he wants is these cheese crackers every single day. And I'm like, I'm a horrible mom. He won't eat anything else. Gosh, I see all the other moms that are like blending this, making food from scratch, And I'm like, I have tried. I made him popsicles with spinach in it. And like, he didn't know. And I tricked him there. And like, it was working for about 2 weeks. And then now he's back to these like things again. And you go through such mom guilt, but again, also realizing he's 2. This is going to be probably a thing for a while.
Well,
also, be okay.
I agree. And what they found is that kids know what they want. They'll put a big, huge spread out on a table and they'll turn a bunch of toddlers loose. And they'll have drawn blood earlier. And the toddlers will go right to the thing that they want to eat, that they need. It's intuitive. My son, when he was a toddler, nope. I'm like, but you loved it last week. They don't need it anymore. And I had a girlfriend whose daughter would sneak off in the middle of the night, like a toddler, and would be eating soap.
Oh my
She'd
God.
steal soap out of the bathroom and she would eat it. And then where'd she go? Or she'd be in the closet and they went and they found out that she had a mineral deficiency and the soap had that.
You know what? I think I've actually heard something about that before. Wow, that is so interesting. Okay.
So if you're not sitting around, here's the difference. Between the ages of 0 and 7, there's so much more being absorbed than what's going on. Your guilt about the food is being absorbed more than the food.
I got that. And then I'm like, I can't say it because if I say it, he'll hear me. And like, I don't want to tell the sitter that, he kind of has issues eating certain things. Ask him 5 times to make sure that he's going to eat it. Otherwise, we have bowls all over the house with food all over the place because he looked at it and decided, I don't want that.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, you want to talk about, I know, and I was open doing it, so I feel fine. But I used to shove the food in my son's mouth twice. Because the first time he would go, bleh, and then the second time he'd actually go, and then he'd reach for it. And I knew that. He's like his dad. His first answer is no, and I knew that. But I'm just like his dad. If I ask a couple times and I show him the benefit, then he's like, actually, this is a good idea, So my point is that if you're eating healthy food, if you're taking care of your body, your hygiene is fabulous, you're flossing, you're brushing, he sees that whether you're doing that with him or not. That is what he's going to emulate as what an adult looks like. Not, I'm going to be fat and pimply and have cheese and crackers as my only meal for the rest of my life. That's not what's going to happen.
Thank you.
It's more important to take care of yourself and make sure that you're on it, and you're not screaming and yelling at customer service on the phone, because then he'll become a screamer or yell to customer service on the phone. Do you see what I'm saying? That's more important, right? And then the other thing is that I found is my kids have their own soul. The biggest thing that I kept reminding myself is when they're toddlers is they look little, but they're just as big and bright and amazing as me. They get put in our souls get put into these tiny little bodies, and they have to be there. And I have some theories about why, but the big thing is they're going to grow up and they're going to become grandparents and they're going to die, and you're going to meet them on the other side, and it's not going to be this little boy. And so the more that I could communicate with my kids from the place of you're a soul and I'm a soul, and how do I get you through what you need to have in this lifetime by paying attention to, quirks that they have, right? My daughter has a really hard time remembering the stuff she needs to do. So we're trying to find the right system. She's 13. What is the system that you need, right? And we found consequences. Ooh. And that was her idea. I seem to do well when I know there's something at stake. I was like, well, that actually makes a lot of sense. Most CEOs run off that.
Interesting. I love this. I have a 13-year-old stepdaughter who's kind of going to do the same thing. I think it's a 13 trying to discover themselves, certain things, but it's almost the same thing, like remembering chaos, stuff's everywhere. So ADD, and it's like, how can we help, what can we do to support, what does that look like? So the consequences thing was just started to be implemented this past week by her mother. And so very fascinating.
And also just know that my father-in-law is one of the worst ADHD people in the world. It's become a joke. And he was a fantastic surgeon. Because he would get ADHD focused in on what he was doing, and he would do all the research. But then, man, don't ask him to find the tool he just had on his hand 3 minutes ago that on a project that you were literally just doing together. Where's the screwdriver?
This is me, by the way. I'm like,
okay, let's retrace every step, and then we find it like in the bird feeder.
Yeah.
Outside, like, how did it get out here?
I don't know. I forgot. I had it in my hand. You're pulling it. Yeah. I get it. We have that almost every day with my phone. Every day.
Me too. Oh my God. I really want to clap her for the phone.
Me too.
I really do. And it has to take it off of silent because I put it on silence a lot to be present with my children. And then I set it down and we can't even call it. No, so I want to know, or I want to whistle, or I want a little beeper on my keychain. So I never lose my keys, but that phone.
Oh, I lose the keys too. That's the other thing. And they're in the most odd places, just like you're saying, like it could be totally outside in the bush. And I'm like, I walked outside to get the mail and I must have put it down when I did this. And like,
that's how it happens.
Yep. Yeah, totally.
I learned to solve that. I have a clip on my purse and they don't leave the purse. And when they do, they go right back on.
I like this idea. I actually bought a whole I love that idea. I actually had bought this thing that goes on here that your keys go on it. And then I was like, wait, if I lose my keys and my thing at the same time, I'm really SOL. So like, I don't know what I'm going to do. But it was so big and clunky that it was like, oh, you could hear my phone. Like my keys are right here. So if it dropped or I shook my purse, I'm like, it's in here somewhere, you know?
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I love that.
But I love this. And so getting back to like your inner GPS system, basically. So like, yes. And so recently for me, I don't feel it's happening. There's been this like tightness in my neck for honestly a couple months. And
Where? Is it in the throat or is it in the back?
In my throat. And it is
Yeah.
awful. And I have gone to doctors. Now there is some physical stuff happening, but it's out of the freaking blue. And I feel it's definitely emotional and I don't know why or what. And it's definitely also been a struggle the past few months as far as work. So there's got to be
something very specific. So before we do that, because I don't want to, it's been a fine line between having people experience this for themselves and being very careful not to put anything in their brains that they would be their mind would grab onto. I gave them because it's unique to each person. And I actually think it works the same in every person, but we'll talk about why it's unique to each person in a minute. Let's do the IGS exercise real quick. Okay. And that way you guys can feel it for yourself. Cool. And then I can explain what it is. And then I'll tell you what the throat means because these three parts of the body have different meaning.
Okay.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have you guys, we're going to go through a little tiny quieting of your mind exercise. And then we're going to do 2 statements that I'm going to give you. Just let them float through your mind like a cloud does through the sky. Your mind's going to want to go, nuh-uh, no, that's not true. Or what? Or, right. Just go ahead and go back. I'll walk you through it all and let the thought float through again and notice any sensation between the throat and the upper stomach solar plex area. Okay. Yep. So close your eyes, and everybody out there listening, please do it with us if you can, not if you're driving. Close your eyes. Feel the bottom of your feet. You might notice they get a little warm, maybe a little tingly. You're like, oh, she's paying attention to me. And then now focus on the palms of your hands. Same thing, you might get a little warmth, energy, tingling. Now what you're going to do is you're going to focus on your feet and your hands at the same time, feeling that warm energy. And here's the first statement. Let it float through like a cloud. I do not have an internal guidance system. Notice any sensation between your throat and solar plexus. I do not have an internal guidance system. Now feel your feet and hands, feel the warmth again. Second statement, I do have an internal guidance system. I do have an internal guidance system. Wiggle your toes, open your eyes. So on the first statement, wow, what did you experience?
That was so fascinating. Okay, so in the first statement, I actually felt it in the back of my neck, but also kind of like in here, but more in the back of my neck. So okay, that was interesting.
We're going to focus on
the front. It here.
Yeah, you felt it in the throat. Did you feel anything in between this area at all too, or just in the throat?
Not that I noticed.
Okay, that's okay. So on the second statement, what happened?
Totally towards my belly.
Like, just everything. What happened?
It was like this. I wasn't even noticing this, and it was just. It felt. Oh, I actually felt a little happier. Like, huh, and like more in my. I guess grounded in a sense without even realizing it. But it was like so in my belly. Like, oh, okay.
With your throat, I know you didn't notice, but was there any experience of it releasing?
Yeah, a little bit. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then how about you, Kaylee?
Yes, it was as if it just like opened from my throat. Same area.
Yes. So what most people report is there is a lump in the throat, a tightness in the chest, or a sick feeling right in the solar plexus. When they call that closing. It's when our body tightens down. I know you felt the chest being stressed or filled with anxiety and the solar plexus before, and I'll talk about those. And then the second one, what people report is like something breathes them, like they go, it just happens, right? And there's a release, there's a sensation of expansion, of peace. There's some people report an upward V that kind of like it rises up, right? And when sometimes you can see people in audiences literally go in this thing. It's really fun.
I was laughing. Like I was like smiling during it. Like, oh my God, I totally felt the difference. Like that was cool.
And then we call that opening. Okay. And so what's happened is all of us are born with this internal guidance system, and it's been operating in our lives and for centuries, thousands of years. This is not something new. I just decoded it. And the thing is that because we didn't know what this was, that it was guidance, in all stress is closing, which means what you're thinking is not true or it's not going to happen. So I define stress as worry, fear, anxiety, overwhelm, frustration, irritation, procrastination, guilt, doubt. Okay, these are just some of them. Rushing, when you're late and you're rushing, you're thinking you're going to be late or you don't have enough time. It's not true. If anything that is true, you will get the expanded feeling. So the first time that people hear this, and I think this is one of the most, this touches me so much doing this work and what happens for people's lives, because if something is wrong with you, you open. You don't feel shame, guilt, fear, broken. You don't feel any of those. So anytime you're feeling shame, fear, broken, there's something wrong with me, I'm bad, I'm blowing it, any of that, and it's attached to any thought you have, it's not true. So let me give you an example. My whole life, when I was from the age of like 13 on, I was told that I was it's hard to even remember. I was jealous. So, and I could recognize it. I would get this tight feeling, and I would say that I would be thinking that I don't want my boyfriend talking to this girl, or my friends didn't invite me out here, or she's becoming closer. You know, all the crud that goes on in high school where you're constantly feeling out, right? And so I started working on jealousy. I've always been a person that will work on myself. And I started working on it and reading books and trying to check it out and change my feelings, and couldn't. So then I was about 24, 25, and I was listening to this show. It was an old radio show called Dr. Laura. And the woman on there was talking about the sensation of insecurity and how it feels and what it means and how to fix it. And I went, I'm not jealous, I'm insecure. And my whole body went, I mean, it was so profound for me that I had been working on the wrong thing. And lots of us are working on the wrong thing that somebody told us was broken, and it's not. Okay. Right? A lot of stuff happens in our kids. You're shy, you're this athletic one, you're the smart one, you're good at math, you're not good at math, right? It's awful. And so anyways, I called my boyfriend. I was so excited. I was like, oh my God, I just found out I'm super insecure. And he was like, is this a trick? I'm like, no, I'm not jealous, I'm insecure. And he goes, well, of course you are. And I was like, so you knew and you didn't tell me? He goes, you don't talk to women like that. I was like, right. So then I started building up my self-esteem, and I part of the internal guidance system, what it led me to is anytime we envy something, it's something we're supposed to have that we're not owning and recognizing and calling in. Okay. So now when my boyfriend was talking to a great girl at a party, I stopped looking at him and I looked at all the things that I was saying why she was better for him than me. You know what I'm talking about? That's a horrible feeling. And I would be like, I'm that. I just need to own it, claim it, and become it. And so it changed. It became a guiding light for my brilliance, instead of a collapsing feeling of what if he decides to leave me and go to her.
Mm-hmm. I love that. What a different way and different perspective to look at things.
That's what the IGS leads you to. And so that's what I'm saying is when I found out I was insecure, I didn't go to, another thing I'm broken about. I went, it opened me. I felt this knowing, this truth, this confidence, this security. And that's the difference. And that's where our humanity, I believe, is in the middle of a evolution of our species through this kind of tool, where when there's something that we need to fix, it will open us. We'll have the courage to fix it. Like, I know that we've got all these things going on, and I don't want to get political about it because I don't think it's actually important. I know that these issues seem really dire, but it opens me, we're going to get through them, and that this is going to be one of the most profound changes in our human experience, to where we actually can collaborate from a place where we have we have significance in each human being, and we all belong here, and how we can collaborate to make that happen. And we're all needed to make the solution. You can't cut any group out and get the right solution for humanity, because we're one.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So the thought that when something is off, we're in pain. And when we find the solution, we find the direction, we find the path, we're open. Think about people in a room yelling and screaming about something like abortion, and they're all closed.
Yeah.
And being able to sit down at the table and really say, okay, well, this opens me. This opens me about the term of the gestation, or this opens me about this women being treated this way and not having certain opportunities that they would have, and we all write it all down, and we work to a solution. And when everybody in the room feels good, we've got our answer.
If only.
I would like to
think it will. I know it opens me.
I hope so. I hope this definitely been a topic with my family, and it's been fascinating. And also hearing what men, I don't want to get into that because I'm going to get into the politics, but you're right. That is such a cool concept to think about.
And you have to remember that there's lots of people where they're only pulling out the stuff they want people to hear.
Right. Absolutely. And I do know that.
They're showcasing the thing that is going to rile people up into their closing.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Create destruction and division.
That's the news for you. That's why I can't even watch it.
Right. And so the big thing is to realize that there are millions of people who feel like you do, and millions of people who want a solution, and millions of people that are torn, no matter whether they're pro-life or I've talked to both recently, and they're all torn. Mm-hmm. Even within their own demigod experience of this is how it has to be. When I ask pro-life, well, what about a girl who gets raped by her father in incest? And then do you tell the adoptive parents when she has the baby? Does she have to tell the baby at some point that my daddy is your daddy? Does she have to keep that child and then have this for the rest of her life with her family, this thing? I mean, we know lots of times where moms or stepmoms blame the girl. Now she's got a baby. I mean, the pro-choice people, pro-life people will be like, oh, that's a hard one to figure out. And I agree. That's one would have to figure. That is important. That's an important conversation.
That's my biggest
thing. A choice. And I'm like, okay, what about the babies that the woman wants to spite the man, and then she's 7 months pregnant and they get in a fight. So she gets an abortion to give him the ultimate pain. And then
I didn't even know you were allowed to do that at that long. See, I always, and that's the thing too, is the education behind it.
So that's a big problem because there is no education. So there are 7 states, I believe, I could be wrong, it might be 5, but there's 7 states in the United States that let you pull the baby right up to term, right up to the day before it's born.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Virginia, Vermont, I'm trying to remember, Colorado, Vermont, Alaska. I used to have them down. And then there's multiple that allow you to pull the baby up until 7, 6. Almost everyone except for Texas right now is 6 months you can abort the baby.
I thought it was 3 months. And that's why we all
do, but we're not. And so Texas brought it back to 3 months, and everybody flipped out that they banned abortion. They didn't ban abortion. They banned a life that could survive outside the womb, which is technically 5 months. I feel like it should be 3 months.
That's fair. And, or even having access
6 to 5, 6 to 3, and then I also think we need a heck of a lot more education. You want pro-choice, then I need you to get pro-choice about who you're letting into your vagina.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when, and whether you've been drinking.
Yeah.
And whether there's a problem.
My biggest thing is the rape.
Like, be choiceful about birth control too. Like, I know mistakes happen, but why are the women like?
We have plan B still. So that's what I didn't understand about. I thought that we still had, I don't know. I had that still. My biggest thing was the rape. I've been raped before, so I know what that's like. And to go through that and not know what the hell happened or have, and it's very traumatic, that in itself. But if I had gotten pregnant during that time, you're damn right I wouldn't be keeping it. Hell no. I was already traumatized enough. There was no way I was going to I would have resentment. I don't even want to go there. But, and I'm all about, I love kids, love them with a passion. I love my little man. I had him, I'm 43 now. I had him when I was 41. So I
had my first child at 43.
Oh my gosh. Okay. See, and so
anyways.
Yeah. But anyway, it's like,
I agree. It isn't that. It isn't 12 weeks. except in Texas and the rest of the country. And right now they're like, oh, 13 countries, states banned abortion. No, they have books on the laws this is important to me because I did know about the late term and how many babies are being aborted after the 3 weeks and how really bad it is. But, and that anyways, the trauma of the mom having that baby come out in pieces is brutal. So we're hurting our women even more, in my opinion. Yeah. But here's my thing. Our laws are going back to the ones from the 40s and 50s. Yeah. Because the Fed took it over in 73. Those laws were enacted. And now each state has to get together and decide what they're going to do with most probably with the vote of the people. Or they're going to come up with a statute about what this is going to look like for their state based on what they believe and who they are. And that hasn't happened yet. Mm-mm. But the feds gave it back. The federal court gave it back to the states specifically so we had more choice about what is right.
Yeah, that's what I
right
thought.
For each state. Texas is not the same as California by far.
No, totally different.
California has it actually in Congress right now, and you can look this up. And I just said they're moving. I just got an article. They're moving forward, and I'm not involved in this movement. I've been just trying to figure out how to stop the hate and the division and where's the solution. That's my job with IGS, Internal Guidance System. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to find what is the opening here. What is the opening for everybody? But California has a law on the books where a baby can die up to a week after it's born, and there's no coroner that will be called out, and there'll be no investigation, and there'll be no questioning of the mother. So there's 2 women in California who were both on meth, and babies died that came out stillborn, and they were really high when it happened. They both got charged, and one woman got acquitted, and the other woman got put in jail. So I don't know what happened with that jury trial as to why they chose that this woman killed her baby and she needed to be charged with murder. There's another woman who was drinking really heavily in Florida. She got in a car accident and her baby died from the car accident. She got charged. She got acquitted. They're using these 3 cases as the reason why a woman can not be investigated. And I'm like, what if the boyfriend comes in and kills the baby?
Right.
There's so many things. What if the baby got a hold of methamphetamine somehow? I don't know what's I don't know, right? But my point is that is wrong.
I think that's wrong too, especially with a car accident. So much shit happens every day that's even not, whether it's your fault or not, you think she'd meant to kill her baby? No. And that's just ridiculous to even.
It should be investigated.
Right.
That's my point. And I also have gone deeply into the addiction world because I think I've got 3 things. I believe addiction is a global pandemic that we need to really work on and find out. And it's coming from not having a good home life in the beginning, most of it. The real addiction that's on the streets, heroin, losing their lives, prostitution, drugs, crime, all that. And I'm not talking about your businessman who's an alcoholic. It does relate to his child or businesswoman. It does relate back to their childhood too, but it's not, the self-esteem wasn't broken to the point where they couldn't function. Mm-hmm. And we need solutions for that, and I think mental needs to be addressed deeply, and we need to take care of our own and do some real serious funding and research and support of people that are in that space and their families, because it's just as hard for the families to go through addiction. And then I have this thing around supporting women and being able to make really great choices, helping them if they're in that place and they're in the midst of, I know personally someone that's my foster aunt. She's had 3 babies that she's given up, and she's on methamphetamine. She's gotten pregnant 3 times. Those are the things that it's I get it. You're out of your head. Maybe you're hanging around with the wrong people. These things are happening, but how do we get that solved for her?
Right.
Because she doesn't want to lose her babies. She still fights to get them back, but she keeps going back into the drug scene, and then she'll clean up for a couple months, get her babies back, because she's like the rest of us. She loves her children. She just can't do it. That's horrible. Mm-hmm. Where's our pro-lifers on that conversation? Mm-hmm. What about her life? Being able to take care of her kids.
Yeah.
So I don't have an answer, but I have a process that allows all the right people to be able to get to the right place and know that what they're deciding is opening. and that everybody can have different openings and we're supposed to collaborate it.
I think that's brilliant. That would be so brilliant to have like basically a mediation in a sense. It's a whole new way of mediating, and having you in those rooms to do
I
it.
love that.
Yeah.
Or having
Yeah.
a bunch of trained people, you know, that I train that goes out and does even more. I mean, I imagine being in a boardroom and they're making decisions for a massive company like BlackRock, and they're all working into their IGS to find out what's going to work. And the best thing about it, there's so many good things about this internal guidance system piece that we were all born with, is that openings get openings. And if I get an opening, it's everyone around me. I've never had, in the 23 years I've been doing this, and in my own life since 92, ever had it not be that way. And so once you get an opening, you're like, well, this is what I'm thinking, and this is what I'm doing, and how do you feel, and why are you closed, and what, you know, and we get to it. And it's great for parenting too, because I know I can say no to my 13 in an opening, and it seems really harsh for me. And then there's other times where I can be lenient, and it opens me to be lenient. And I'm so glad I'm not just holding some line for her that's like, nope, this is what I decided, this is what we're doing every single time, no matter what. You know what I mean? No, I'm like, okay. It opens me that you really didn't mean it.
It'd be great for like couples therapy as well. Like even teaching this to therapists that are out there, and this is something that they could then help their clients with, you know.
That has been such a fun, and I have Smart Soul Academy, and I have 13 programs. It's $47 a month. And Stress to Happiness teaches you how to use your IGS. And then there's Work Like a Woman, how to re-engage in the workplace, or even if you work from home, however it is, because we still, even when we work from home, we're like, I need to be in there at 9, I need to do this many hours, I need to I haven't put much time on it, you know. That's a man's way. Hunt the deer, hunt the deer, hunt the deer. You know? Women are like, berries. Oh, and there's some eggs from the, you know, we're like, we just go with our baskets and and everything gets done. Right? Put a man on a Thanksgiving dinner, most of them, it can do like 1 or 2 things, where women are like 12.
Yeah.
I'm an octopus right now.
Completely.
The
dinner is being set. The table is set. Here's the dessert going on. Here's this going here. I invited all the guests. Got the baby over here. You're getting changed with the
husband. I need you to go to the store for the 3rd time. I know. I'm sorry. I need cream tartare. And he's like, what is cream tartare?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, but that's what I mean is, and we are super important in the workplace as we are. We bring the vision. We bring the lightheartedness. We bring the, we can make that, we can get that done. We can bring that. No, we can change. We can change directions. This isn't working. We don't have to turn the Titanic. We're in a little speedboat. You get these 5 people and we're going to do it. Mm-hmm. We do it all the time. We have to.
Yep.
So that flexibility is so crucial right now with everything that's happening. We need to be able to move flexibly and fast and laugh about it. And a woman brings that. Oh, don't be so hard on yourself. It's good. We can do this. And it's important. So Work Like a Woman's another program, and then creating emotional authenticity, because most of our emotions are programmed by watching our parents feel themselves, and they were by their grandparents and their grandparents. So the IGS pulls that away, and it's really exquisite for women when they get to a place where they have an opening emotion, because anger can be opening or tight. It depends on what you're thinking is true. Tight anger creates destruction. People hurt each other. Opening anger, people listen to it. It's like Martin Luther King Jr. and Gandhi and the people out there that they took that anger they had and it was opening that this needs to change. Mm-hmm. This needs to be different. And so when somebody steps up from an opening with this needs to change and this needs to be different, people listen. They can feel it in their being. Even people who don't want to listen.
Mm-hmm. That's an interesting point.
And grief is that way too. I mean, a lot of our emotions. So when a woman gets tuned back into the opening emotion, and it's the first time that men around her listen, because they can feel that what we're saying is a story, is irrational, that's just one example. And they'll listen because they love you, but they're not going to buy into anything you're saying, which is really healthy. We don't want them to buy into our PMS bullshit. Right? We don't, because then 3 days later, we're like, no, but I really didn't want you to kill the cat. But you said you want to get rid of it. It did this again. You're like, no, I was upset. But we do want them to listen to us about what we need as moms to take great care of our community and our family. We want to be able to feel that opening of like, no, this is dangerous and will not support a lifelong future of joy and happiness and success for the people in our lives. I need you to help me do something. And they will. They will, because they can feel it's true.
And I'm curious, I guess, with some, like the one you gave us, the one exercise to go through. So like in your everyday life, you know, let's say some shit happens. And so what advice would you give to that person to kind of check in with, is this true or is this bullshit, bullshit? So like, would it be kind of that same exercise to kind of sit there, calm down, feel your hands, or what is that? What would be like
I had an easy, I would say come to Smart Soul Academy and spend less than $50 and just stay for 3 months and you're good to go. You don't have to stay for anything else. And the reason why is this. What color is a yield sign?
yellow?
Okay. Kylie, what color is a yield sign? You can have a different answer, same answer, doesn't matter.
Orange. I see what you're saying. Okay.
I already know the answer because I watched your videos.
Okay, but what was it? What came up at that time?
Yellow.
Okay. The yellow and black yield sign was retired in 1971. By 1974, there wasn't a single. Now, please don't go jump on Wikipedia. It's true. You can do it after the show.
No, I'm plugging in my computer, so we don't.
I know. Everybody is. I just, so it's red and white. They were all replaced by 1974. You should see my audiences when I talk live, because I'm like, okay, everybody, go ahead. You have 35 seconds to look it up on your phone, because otherwise I lose them. They're like, most of the time it's the international people that come in and get their driver's license later. It'll say red and white, or somebody who's in traffic.
Okay.
Like replaces the roads, or a CHP, or police officer. They know. Even if, here's the thing, and this is why I wish I could just give you the thing, because we can't just put more information into our brain and change it. Even if you know now that it's red and white, if I ask you in a year, and I've done this on radio shows where I've had multiple things, they go, I know it's a trick, but I still see yellow and black. And I tell them red and white, and they go, that's right. If I gave them a crayon though, and I had them color the red and white yield sign, they'll never forget it for the rest of their lives. Our brain, putting more information into a brain does not do anything to change the programming we got from 0 to 7. Now, I have people who were born after 1970. You're younger than me. I was born in 1970. But they're like, well, I mean, I'm talking 30-year-olds, like say yellow and black. And they go, why? It's on billboards. It's on book covers. It's on T-shirts.
In your test.
It's not. That's how I found out about it. It's not in the test. It might be on one of the tests where it's, which one is it? That's mean. They shouldn't do that. That's like not fair. But my son, when he was 2, watching Sesame Street, saw the guy from Frozen, the little snowman guy that played the snowman, singing with a yellow and black yield sign dancing around Sesame Street. Now he, at the age of 2, connected to a song and a character he loves, has seen the yellow and black yield sign.
You know what? Oh, I think of that because you're right. That's what it is. And then he's got little toys that are yellow and black, that little little construction men.
They are yellow in the construction.
Yep.
That's what I'm saying. We keep reproducing it.
Yep.
In our culture. Well, what else are we reproducing that we think is true that's not?
Truth. So much.
So what happens when you use the IGS, you're going through your day and you'll all of a sudden you wake up, and I'll give you an exercise to start with everybody. But you wake up to, oh, my throat's tight. My chest is tight. Throat tight, by the way, is you are disempowering yourself. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not doing enough. They don't need me, or whatever it is, all disempowering. And it tightens your throat. And it comes and goes. And some people never have it. And some people I've had literally, like you, come learn this. And then they're like, I've been living with that throat closing my whole life, because they were told all the things that were not up to par about them when they were younger. And then they carried it, and they're not true. Those thoughts are not true. A chest is real-time information. You can use it to like turn right or left if you don't know where to go or whether to buy something or not, but it also tightens when you have thoughts in the real time. Going to the post office, they're telling me the wrong thing, I can't trust this person. You get a tightness. And then the solar plexus is a belief system that is coloring all of your thinking. Let's say you lose your job, and everything from that moment on is about, can I afford it? I can't do it. I need to cut it out, right? All your thoughts are about money, and it's not true, and it'll tighten. Or motherhood has a ton of these, where you'll feel this sick feeling in the pit of your stomach. as you're going about thinking about how you're not spending enough time with the kid or at work all the time or whatever it is, and it shows up here. And so you can literally pull that belief system out and it evaporates and it goes away because you pivot to the opening. And once the mind pivots to the opening, you have a physical reaction like coloring in the red and white yield sign. Your body can't go back to the thing that wasn't true. Your mind will still produce it, but your soul, your beingness, your observer, the higher power in you will be like, that's not true. I can't go there. I can feel I can't go there. And so what ends up happening with this and why we're given it is throughout your day, as you hit this programming, you stop and you do a quick practice. Like irritation always means it's a person that your mind doesn't believe will ever change. Right? And frustration is a situation or a thing like a computer that you don't do well. I'm not saying you, but a person. You don't believe it'll ever change. That situation or that thing will never change. Guilt is always closing, and it is useless emotion that is complete programming. It means nothing. It is always closing. So it's never, ever, 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 ever true. All the moms out there. It's programming you got as to what makes you a good or a bad person. And if you don't live up to the programming, guilt comes in, which is closing, and says you're a bad person because of X, Y, and Z. Remorse is always opening. You know you've done something to hurt someone else or that was wrong, and you need to make amends. And most people do. And if the person's dead they need to make an amends with, they will find someone to tell them how to make amends with a dead person. Because when you're in remorse, you are pulled into the opening of setting it right. So what I did is I broke up all of these things so that you know, what am I feeling? I'm feeling frustrated. Okay, it's always a situation thing. What's the situation thing? What does my mind believe can't change? I don't believe this and this won't change. Those are closing. Okay, what? Now then there's stuff you do to pivot. The cool thing is very quickly you're handling these and creating a new brain for yourself that doesn't have that programming. And so what ends up happening is mostly in about 3 to 4 months of doing the work, you don't have this anymore. It doesn't come back. You're just happy. You just know what to do. You know what's right for you. We go through soul family, getting rid of people, how to do opening boundaries. And these aren't things I can just teach in like, all you have to do is sit. Because you need to use it on the fly. When you're in the middle of an argument with your child or your husband or a coworker or whatever it is, and you feel closed, you stop and you go, ooh, nobody even has to know you're doing it. Ooh, that closed me. So here's one more example. I came upstairs, my husband, and it was in the house, I had this really great idea. And I get really great ideas all the time. And I'm super enthusiastic about them. So I run upstairs and I'm like, and he's like, ah. And I thought he was going to love it. And he looks at me and goes, I hate it when you manipulate me. And he was angry.
Wow.
Right? I don't feel like I manipulate people. I really am about their choice and respecting their openings. I mean, that's my whole life. Like, what do you think I want to know? And he goes, I said, what? I said, I thought I am not manipulating him. And I went real tight, which means what I'm thinking is not true. This only reacts to your own thinking, which is so great because you have all the power.
Interesting.
Right? And so I thought, oh, it is true. Opened. So I was like, what do you mean? I don't feel like I opened that I'm manipulating you, and I don't feel like I am, and I'd never want to do that to you, and I'm all hurt, you know? And he goes, you come in here and you're super excited and you pitch me on this idea, and I have two choices. Either I say no because I haven't had enough time to think about it, which is going to hurt you. And the other one is, or I go along with it and it's not right for me. And then later, we will get in a fight where I don't like what's going on. And you said, but you said yes. And he's like, I know I did, but I shouldn't have. And then I'm like, well, how could you do, so this whole thing, right? So we made a whole thing where it's like, I come down, I tone it down. I don't get so excited, my tail may be wagging really fast, but my face doesn't show it. And
that's so hard.
Right? I know, but it was really important because
and if you're excited, you're excited. Like, why should anyone dull your sparkle in that sense if you're excited?
Oh, because all he wants is for me to be happy. He loves me so much. All he wants to do is always say yes.
Okay.
He's a man, and it's his job to really analyze it because it's his family. And if anything comes down with his family, it's his responsibility, whether somebody else did it or not.
Okay.
So I want this. So I'll come in, I won't be as excited, right? I'll get excited when he says yes. And I have him think about it. And I'm lucky. I have a man who almost always, he says no first, but I never take it because it's his knee jerk. But he thinks about it and he almost always comes back and says yes. He may give us a caveat, something that he's like needs, right? We're fine. I got it. And now we don't have those things where he's upset that something's going on and he didn't have a chance to think about it. And now he has to tell me that he's unhappy. It solves so much, but my brain didn't understand that we had different definitions of manipulation. Yeah. My Zen from coming out of high school with all that anger and resentment would have fought to the death that I don't manipulate him and been angry forever and never trusted that he really knew who I was.
Interesting.
Wow. So I can't put information in your brain. I can't give you one practice. Just like the sitting and asking a question, like that happens naturally because your brain will flip. But if you're trying to decide between New York and Jersey, and you're supposed to move to New Hampshire, but you have no idea of New Hampshire, if you're closed on both and you just sit there and go black or white, it's like when you have a magic 8 ball and what happens when you shake it and you get an answer you don't like?
Shake it again.
Shake it again. That's not what your IGS is for.
Yeah.
Your IGS is to get you in alignment with your soul's purpose and blueprint. It doesn't want you shaking it again. So there's a lot of little things like that you learn at the academy that allow you to use this full time in your life, where you don't get off track or get confused, because your mind will confuse you. And your mind doesn't want to work with your IGS. It wants to be the boss.
I love this. And so how young have you had, like, I'm curious, like, do you work with kids too? Can they do the program? Like, is there age start?
I'm looking at starting a teen program in the fall, a couple months after school starts, probably around the beginning of, before their holiday, Thanksgiving holiday. My 13-year-old uses it most of the time because everybody forgets to use it, including me. Every once in a while, I'll be like, everything's a mess. Wait a minute, I'm closed. What's happening here? You just get into the unconscious habit, which I think is healthy and fine to go unconscious. I'm a person who doesn't believe we're supposed to be conscious all the time. And she has had really great success pulling herself out of situations, getting rid of friends that weren't good for her. She can feel it. She'll go to think about inviting them over to spend the night or something and close. She was in Costco the other day and she grabbed this beautiful silver furry pillow, which is just up her alley. And she has her own money from work. She's working and doing stuff. And I saw her pull it up to her chest and was like sitting there for a second and put it back. And then she walked over and started following me again. And I was like, what did you just do? She goes, I closed and I really want that pillow. So think about it.
Yeah. Interesting.
So it's great for kids. Boundaries are supposed to be opening. So one of the things, I'm giving you guys a lot. I hope that's okay. But this is like a tiny tip of the iceberg of what you learn. But boundaries, we see them as an ultimatum. If you do that again, I'm going to do this. Mm-hmm. No. Boundaries are teaching someone how to care for you better. And you caring for them enough to let them know. And so you sit down and you're like, do I really need to fix this? Or is this just my junk, my triggers, my garbage that I'm in, my stuff? And you'll open or close. And then you go to the next process, which is what I really want to have happen. What would be the ultimate thing I would like to have? And if it opens you, it's possible with that person in that situation. If you go too far in what you're asking for, you'll close. So it balances you out. And then I have a process for communication where you go and you talk to the person about, hey, this is happening for me. This is how I'm feeling. I don't want to feel that way with you. Here's what I've been thinking about. Does that work for you? Because if I can't do this, if I can't get this thing that I'm feeling about you solved, I'm afraid it's going to destroy our relationship. And I don't want that. But I also can't feel the way I'm feeling and be in this hole or in this doubt or in whatever it is you're really feeling and have the life I want. I can't sit in this and spin in this anger or this resentment. Mm-hmm. It's not what I want for me. So do you want to participate in helping me figure that out and tell me what you need in order to get these things met? And if they're like, no, I'm not going to do that, then you've got your answer. They're not a part of your soul family. Because your soul family's here, even though some of them are really irritating and you wish you could dump them, you're still learning. You're still growing. And you have to put up with them. We talk about that in the first program too. How do you know your soul family and how do you know who not to spend your time with? And there's people whose kids aren't in their soul family when they're adults. They're like, no, they're not a part of my soul family. They got what they needed and they're gone. Well, that makes it easier to let go. They're still good. They're still getting their lessons. It's just not yours to do any more at this time.
That would kill me.
Depends on the kid. It depends.
Yeah.
So these kids, most of them are really rough. They're really angry. They're really, they're just not.
Got it.
They come to the house and they destroy the mood of Thanksgiving,
Mm-hmm. I get what you're saying.
And there's some that come and they destroy the house and the mood and everything. And it's your job to be present with that and work with your own stuff. And because they're your soul family, man, you're like,
Thank you for that. This makes such sense.
Interesting.
So I guess tell me again about the Academy, a Smart Soul Academy, and then you've also got several other programs. Can you run through the programs? Go ahead.
Yeah, I will. So
Yeah.
everything's in one place.
Okay.
Called Smart Soul Academy. There's 13 programs. One program that's outside of it called From Princess to Queen. And that is where I literally take a woman for a year and we develop her kingdom. And what kind of queen is she? And what are the fruits of her labor? And what does she do? And it's a mastermind of women and they have their own pods. And we really go deep into how to work like a woman and how to produce a new world like a woman would as their queen. So anyways, that is separate. That's working with me. And there's all these other things. But everything else is in Smart Soul Academy. There's a $47. You get all the archive coaching in the work. There's 13 programs. There's Stress to Happiness, which teaches you about IGS, Work Like a Woman, which takes down all the barriers that we're feeling working around men and uncomfortableness, all that solves that. Emotional Authenticity, Relationship as a Spiritual Path. Then we go into Power Manifestation, The Art of Quantum Miracles, which is all manifestation using the IGS and the state of allowing and going bigger. There's Spirit Led, which is having a really divine connection. Because what happens is when people start feeling that this is happening all day, every day, there's something with them helping them all day, every day. Mm-hmm. And it's loving. They suddenly start having this feeling like I have a presence within me that is bigger than me. So Spirit Led is about going deeper with that aspect and what it means and how it works, and a lot of archetypical ideas about what a relationship with anything divine looks like. It gets repurposed and you use your IGS to connect with what's right for you. That's all in there. And then I have a whole bunch of binge content that's just fantastic. I had breast cancer last year and I was open the whole time. And so that process is in there. So like I said, and I'm adding to it all the time.
Awesome. This is amazing. Thank you so much. And so they can go to smartsoulacademy.com.
Yes.
And then how about Instagram or any social media?
I'm just getting going. I have been using my email list for a long time and growing that. And I had breast cancer last year, so I went through that process and I didn't really feel like being online. YouTube is the biggest place where they can find me. I've got a ton of videos, like 100 and something on YouTube. And I have a book. I don't recommend the book as to learn, but it's called Your Inner GPS. It's a great little manual once you're learning because you can't put new information in and have change. That's why we spend so much money on courses and books and coaches and mentors and all this stuff. And then when, we just are the same old people, we've got a couple really great things we can talk about over coffee, but we don't really have a difference in our habit.
That is so true. And thank you so much. I've learned so much during this. Like, I'm so excited and I'm going to hop on and definitely sign up.
I have one more thing. And if you could put this in the show notes, you go to mind, MIND, spark, SPARK.com. I give you the first 3 practices on how to use your IGS. Within an hour of the first video, which is like 15 minutes, within an hour, you're going to hit probably 12 closings, just little closings throughout your day. And you stop and I give you the solution, which means I am closed. That means what I'm thinking is not true or not going to happen. And you'll feel it release. And that first and I want to explain it more, so go get the videos. But that first practice connects your IGS to your brain so they start understanding that they have a relationship. Because that's the first step that you really need, is for these two to figure out, we're a team. But for a while, this will try to dominate. So go to mymindspark.com and they'll get the first 3 practices. And even if you just do that, your life will change.
Amazing. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Thank you so very much. I will make sure everything is posted also for the replay. I'm going to sign off on here to the whole audience, but stay on. And so thanks everyone so much. And don't forget to follow @SoulSexy, and we will see you next week. Bye.